Hi, Hoshari and Celia. Welcome. So, the future forward approach to data privacy and security. A lot has been said so far in this summit, and we've discussed on different strategies and key elements for security solutions and the landscape that we are in. Let me begin first by introducing myself, and then I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. My name is Ken Buki. I'm the Business Intelligence Analyst at Moringa School. Moringa School, for those who have not heard about it, is a multidisciplinary tech accelerator that looks to be able to skill tech talent and to be able to connect them to different markets, both locally and internationally. We actually recently launched a cybersecurity course, and we're partnering with AWS and other industry players to be able to grow this tech talent. Let's start by introducing our first panelist, Celia.
Hi, my name is Celia. I'm an angel of MTN South Africa. I think I've given a background of who MTN is, but we basically are a mobile network organization operating in 19 markets, serving about 290 users across Africa.
Impressive. Welcome, Hartnell. Next, we have Paul.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Gitare Masharia. I'm an auditor by profession, systems auditor with BDO East Africa, part of the BDO Global Network. And I'm just happy to be here.
Welcome, Hartnell. You can go next.
Yeah, my name is Hartnell Lungi. I'm the Chief Data Officer at Absa Bank, Kenya. Happy to have an auditor on stage because I was also an auditor some years back. I look after data management, data science, business intelligence, and model analytics. Thank you.
Amazing. So let's get into it. A few months ago, CA, which is the Communication Authority in Kenya, reported that we have more than 945% increase in cyber attacks, right? And we're in that space where we are having a lot of innovations and emerging solutions that we are trying to build. And with that, we are riding on data and to be able to provide these solutions, data that is coming from different points of our business processes. Let me begin with you, Celia. How does the organization stay ahead of these emerging technologies while balancing the privacy and security kind of measures to remain effective as you offer these different innovative solutions?
Sure. I think we've come a long way in South Africa. So our data privacy regulatory, which is called POPI, has been in effect since 2022, I think. But I mean, we were given more than 5 years to prepare. So in MTN as a whole, obviously privacy by design is quite important, as much as security by design is quite important. And understanding your assets, because your data is your asset, right? So for you to actually manage, you need to classify your data across the organization, structured and unstructured, you need to manage. So that's one thing that we have done. We are currently semi-automated in how we manage our data outbound and how we actually put the controls in place. So the basic controls have to be there, and we are guided by the regulator. One thing that has worked well for us to make sure in the data privacy and ensure that we embrace innovation, but at the same time, we comply to regulations. And besides complying to regulations, to be honest, we are trusted by our customers, because all of this has to do with trust, not a regulation. Yeah. We've actually partnered with our regulator. I know last year they visited us for 2 days we invited them to come to our organization and actually do a privacy posture maturity, where we found gaps. Obviously, that's one of the strategies to just close those gaps. You could never be perfect in terms of, obviously, you rely on third-party suppliers, which obviously are high risk. But I think implementing the basic controls, classifying your data, knowing where your assets are, it's quite important so that it's within the value chain of innovation.
Amazing. So one thing I'm getting from you there is that you are partnering a lot with the POPIA or the commission that is leading with data privacy and protection to be able to ensure that you're playing within the books. All right. Hartnell, and it's good for me to say maybe at this point that he's alma mater. And I'll maybe be able to now even dig deeper into asking him some of these very pertinent questions around data and privacy. So recently we had an issue on the papers around ABSA and this company known as New Mega Africa Limited about some alleged disclosure of confidential information from their accounts. Maybe would you tell us what are some of those top 3 challenges that keep you awake at night as a CDO in terms of privacy and security?
Interesting question. I can tell you that as a bank, ABSA Bank, it's in this era that we are seeing that customers are actually getting the knowledge on the importance of data privacy and data protection. I remember 2 years back when we were actually trying to comply to GDPR. And the biggest challenge we were actually having was the customers were not educated. But over time, I've seen actually the level of education go up. Some of the cases in the news have actually ramped this up because I know now for Uber, people are even contesting when they are asking, do you understand some of the privacy questions? I'm seeing also Airbnb, people actually visit these places. There's so much that's actually left when you're entering some of these places. So education, knowledge on exactly the importance of data privacy and protection is key. Now, if you look at the challenges that are actually not even keeping me awake, but most CISOs, CIOs, and CDOs, is the rate at which some of these vulnerabilities are actually showing up. Now, in your initial question, when you asked about the changing landscape of new technologies, what I noticed is this: we are actually always had data in our data warehouses and mainframes. What has actually overtaken the rate at which we are creating data is the rate at which we are able to process data. And I can give you an example. If you look at the security lifecycle management, you look at how do you protect data in the different lifecycle stages, from creation to destruction. But if you look at tools like ChatGPT, everything happens in seconds. It's able to go and collect data, prepare data, transform, analyze data, give a result, and destroy data within a very short period of time. So the rate at which we are actually having these new emerging technologies, creating vulnerabilities as well as creating gaps within our secure environment is actually going up. So for me, it's how do we actually, as professionals, find a way of catching up with the bad actors who are also using AI and new technologies to create some of these gaps. Somebody told me that now being a hacker is a career. So we actually have to ensure that the ones who already have professional careers, from the CISOs and the data officers, we are actually also a step ahead in ensuring that we are knowing how to combat some of these challenges.
Interesting. So now that begs me to ask Paul, from your perspective, what should or how would businesses be able to balance risk and innovation with these new technologies in a way that they can create a culture that will be able to be forward-looking in terms of the risks and data privacy issues that we are facing?
Well, the first thing is collaboration. The most important thing about innovation is you have an innovation team and a compliance team. You have the devs, let's say, for example. So the devs are told, I need you to give me a solution that does 1, 2, 3. Then the compliance team says, but this solution is breaching 1, 2, 3. But at the end of it all, the business wants the solution. So if you want, from the word go, to avoid these headaches, which usually come most likely at the tail end of just before you go live or just after you go live, is someone says you're collecting too much data. But this project has been running for almost 3 to 4 months. Why was it never mentioned at the start? Due to lack of collaboration. So if you can bring in all the teams, all the key players within the organization, then you will eliminate any future headaches. And if you remember, there was a speaker yesterday who said that your doctor and also your lawyer know everything about you. From an auditor's perspective, we add ourselves right in it, because the amount of data we collect for the purposes of audit, not just financial audit, forensic audit, etc., is you have to know where you're storing this data. And we have now introduced even retention periods, which some firms may have already introduced before. But immediately once you archive a file, purge everything. Anything that you have already built into your work paper, delete everything that was client related. So slowly by slowly, it came from collaboration between the CISO, the IT team, and also now the audit team. So if we didn't have that collaboration, we probably would have lost the plot.
Can I chime in there?
Yes, you can.
It's interesting because last week we were discussing about the same topic, which is how do you ensure that you have a clear balance of innovation versus governance? And by the end of the meeting, what we said is that the scale that is balancing risk and reward is starting to tip towards more of reward. And it's done by two things. Now, I've said, noticing that in this environment whereby you have to keep on catching up with your competitors and innovating, the best way to do it is by testing and learning. So our waterfall approaches have actually been thrown in the bin. It's now more about how can we introduce a new technology and concept and be able to deploy it in small chunks that you can actually control, both with regards to vulnerabilities, also with regards to value, and see exactly how we keep on scaling up. Now, the interesting thing that we actually noticed in our meeting was the people who are most innovative in the gradual chunk size innovative cycles are risk people. Very interesting. And you know why? It's because when it's smaller, it's easier to actually check what may go wrong easier on a small size project than looking at an end-to-end thing. So I fully agree with you with collaboration that you have to bring the innovators, the UX designers, but also the risk people, the governance people, the GRC people in the same room. And what we have started seeing within our different innovation hubs is that the people who have been used to checking what may go wrong can actually be able to see what may go right easily in those kind of conversations.
Amazing. Collaboration is the take home there. All of you have mentioned something interesting I want to even dig further about. So you mentioned about privacy by design, and we also say security by design, right? And we are talking about innovation and how you are able to bake in both security and privacy measures into the innovations that you're coming up with. So maybe a backdrop of your institution, MTN. Back in 2015, we had some security breach on one of the portals, I think an e-billing portal. What are some of these strategies that you're taking to ensure that there's privacy by design or security by design in building the innovations that you're coming up with?
So some of the strides, like I said, in MTN, we have checked, we've come a long way since 2015, right? A lot has evolved. And we have checked our data. We understand our assets structured and unstructured, it's been managed. But I think in terms of things being exposed, because in every organization, you can't be 100% secure, especially because we are still dealing with legacy systems. Collaboration is quite important. Leveraging of managed services, leveraging of other peers in the industry, because whatever is leaked in the dark web, if you have no visibility, yesterday just was, as I was sitting here, someone was sending me something. They have no interest in MTN, but something was exposed of MTN sitting in this meeting. I had a warning. So being in that collaborative mindset, and we always think collaboration mindset is internal. It's also external. Wow. But also testing the resilience of your systems as you implement these securities by design. I know all of us, we know our policies where it says you need to do a penetration testing once a year. That's all backward thinking, right? So lately you want to, we saw with the doctor this morning, continuously hack your environment to make it more resilient in terms of what you could be exposed to. So MTN is huge market where obviously one OPCO would be mature and another OPCO would not be mature. So sometimes it's that spillover where you find that South Africa is exposed because of another smaller OPCOs because their infrastructure is different from ours. So as much as possible, we are also trying to standardize our controls across all OPCOs because there's only one MTN. You know, when people look at me, they don't say she's from MTN South Africa. She works for MTN. So now we're standardizing our controls across the group.
Cool. So standardization is one of the strategies that you're using to be able to do that.
And simplification. We need to simplify our infrastructure.
All right. At the center of it all on your processes, both for you as a telecommunication giant and ABSA who are doing financial services, the consumer sits on the center of it all. It's a human element that we cannot avoid. And we keep on saying in security that the weakest link to cybersecurity and the security issues that you have is the consumer. How do you ensure that the consumer feels protected? Maybe I'll start with Hartnell, the firehand.
Interesting question. That's a hard one. I think even in all your organizations, you struggle with your internal staff who actually conduct so many tests to see if they can be phished as well as hacked. And most of them fail some of these simple tests. So you can imagine now, what about the consumer? So what I can say is the first thing that you said seeing of importance when you're actually designing solutions is also to have an aspect of education. So simple things like pop-up screens, simple things like tips when you're actually interacting with the applications, with web portals are very important. You can see different companies trying to do this. I think some years back, when you go to an ATM, people used to write, your PIN is your secret. Mm-hmm. Now we don't see that anymore because we have known that your PIN is your secret, yeah? Now you can imagine the same thing. As you keep on innovating, with the advent of cloud now, you're able to create and destroy different types of applications in minutes. How can you ensure that you're having this layer of tips and education about security, not about user interface? If you actually design your solution very well, following Edward Tufte's design principles and other methodologies, you'll make sure that your solution is easy to use. But with regards to ensure that it's secure, yes, you'll make sure that you have the right kind of security controls. You'll have SIM systems to check for incidents and events, but also make sure that you have an overlay of educating the customer. As the customer keeps on knowing exactly what is important to safeguard and how to ensure that you don't get conned or phished by bad players, then you'll start seeing the environment actually getting better. But just to wrap up on that statement, CX should not suffer at the advent of security. People say it may be on the same level, but I'll say it's on the same level, but CX should come first. Make sure that your solution is usable and secure, not secure first, because again, you'll actually start hampering CX.
Amazing.
Can I add into that? And I've seen organizations transform where they are innovating. And then they'll have one seat open, you know. So that seat would actually represent the consumer, the customer. So as you build, you have this customer, because sometimes in our own world of specialization, we are building to secure the organization, or we are building to innovate the organization to ensure we have enough profits. But however, it compromises how the consumer is going to utilize it. I also find that consumers need to be educated on what privacy means. If you know what I mean. For an example, you go to a website, it says accept this cookie or reject it. Just for us to just carry on, you just say accept. What does that mean? Do we educate them enough? So when we say they are weakest links, are we saying they are weakest links because they are not educated enough on what is going on? Or are they our weakest links because they're doing things that are wrong? For me to do something that is wrong, I need to be enabled to do things that are right. So we are finding that with the regulator, there is now more awareness, and we're seeing a lot of our, MTN customers reporting us to the regulator. Now they understand their rights, they understand the consent form, they understand, please, remove me from your system based on 1, 2, 3. So you can actually see they're opting out, they're engaging with the regulator. That's when you can actually now start measuring, because you need to measure your awareness of your consumers as well.
So that means that data protection, as you've mentioned, that consumers are even going ahead to report you, has come to an age where now organizations will have to stick or play within the rules that are stipulated on data protection. So, Paul, are you finding any difficulties advising businesses to keep themselves compliant with things like purpose limitation, data minimization, and all the limitations that we have in the Data Protection Act, like in the Kenya Data Protection Act?
Not only for clients, even internally, whereby, again, you have a cyber team, right? So you have a website, for example. They're the ones who design the website. They need to track cookies, for example. On the flip side, you have a cookie policy that says you should minimize the cookies that you're collecting, but your website is collecting absolutely everything. So from that front, there's a headache where now on the consumer side is if they do not accept, then are they kicked out of your website immediately? If they click reject all, there's always that button that is always grayed out, functional. I hate that name. Functional cookies, because those are the ones that the website needs to operate. So from a client perspective, is they're appreciating it more because over the years, let's say, for example, the Act came into play in 2019. The regulations came into play 2021. The office was opened, I think the ODPC joined office, I think mid-2021 towards 2022. Right. So for 2 years, people were ignoring the Act because they don't know what to do. Then there's no one who's going to come knock at your door and say you're not compliant because they had not been empowered or they didn't have the resources, the office itself. So now the pressures have started with regards to some organizations are no longer wanting to do business with people who are not compliant. So someone calls you and says, this is a strategic partner for me. I work with this person. Help me align to the Data Protection Act so that I can continue doing business with this other person. So slowly by slowly, uptake has come up because people are now worried. You see a publication, this institution has been fined X amount. You're in that same business model. So, and you're doing the same thing that institution was fined up on. So you instantly get your teams together and tell them, we need to align because we are not losing money to fines.
Maybe to put you on spot, we are sometimes told that motivational speakers are only motivating you, but don't help you at the end of the day to be able to solve what you want to solve because they can't solve it themselves. From your view and the consumer's perspective of maybe the reports that you give once you do advisory or risk assessments to these organizations, how can you be able to tell consumers or make them more like trust that the reports that you're giving from maybe risk penetration reports and all that are credible enough for them to like really say that, yes, you are protected?
Well, disclaimer. We always place a statement that says that this report is as at a point in time.
Okay.
During the period where we conducted the assessment, the VAPT, the audit, is as at that particular time. So I think Dr. Bright mentioned it, that you can be safe today and within 2 minutes, there's a new vulnerability that has been born out of nowhere and you're now exposed. So how we ensure that there's assurance, right? There are 3 matters. So there's scope, there's skill, I think, and the third one is the time. We build time. So we have this 3 weeks because we don't want to also, I know most people don't like auditors, but at the end of the day, we have 3 weeks with you. We are disrupting your normal business process because we keep asking you, tell me this, give me this, report this. So as much as information, you're the one giving me the information. So my limitation is to what you have disclosed to me. I'm not there on a daily basis. I only come in maybe once a year, maybe 4 times a year if it's a quarterly event. Then I entrust you with the report. I have given you all the scenarios. The next day, I'm gone. I'll come back in a year. What have you done in between? From the recommendations that we gave, what have you done in between to improve your security posture? Because there's no one person throughout my career who had a clean bill of health. You always have 5 to 10 weird findings.
Yeah.
And you mark something as critical. The client says, because of my board, please make this medium or reduce it to high. Yet you know it's critical. Then 3 years down the line, they get hit because they told you to try and water it down.
Yeah.
And you kept it there, make them look bad, but at the end of the day, you're trying to help.
Can I rectify the statement?
Yeah, as we wrap it up.
I think us angels, we love auditors. Because we need to collaborate. You can't have foresight. Literally, as a CISO, you look forward, backwards, and sideways.
Yeah.
And auditors coming, they're adding value to the mandate that you're trying to achieve. What I find a bit difficult is when an exposure of privacy happens in another organization, and we've got the same customer, the same ID, the same name, same address, and it's a spillover into my organization. So I find that, and we're talking about collaboration, to say, hence you need to collaborate internally and with other companies, because we have the same employees. So you find that in a week, as let's say, for an example, TransUnion was hacked, we found a lot of phishing in our environment. Yes, nothing happened within our environment, but obviously our customers were affected. So collaborating and understanding what's happening in your other industries so that you can combat what would happen in your own space.
Great. Maybe I'll want to take just two questions from the audience on the issues that we've been able to talk about, as I give my panelists maybe a moment to think about something about what the future holds to wrap up this session. Any question from the audience? Yes, please, you can take one from here. Any other one? Any other person with a question? All right, maybe we'll go with that one.
When it comes to, good afternoon. My name is Michael Meshe. When it comes to data privacy and data protection, how are organizations supposed to secure data exfiltration through publicly used AI tools? You may have it within your perimeter to prevent the users from accessing it, but a user can easily go at home, recall the work they have to do, and try their best to sanitize it if you've trained them. But it's a team of people. I'll sanitize my best. Someone else will sanitize their best. Eventually, these models are able to recreate all the work that you're working on. So how is that being monitored, and how do you deal with that?
Hartnell, I think you're more into AI.
Yeah, so very good question. And we, as a bank, actually made some new policies on Gen AI. The first thing to note is that you're very right. These tools are not the doomsday tools, yeah? So I think when all these tools came out some years back, people were saying, oh my God, our jobs will go. There won't be authenticity. Now you'll just be putting an email on ChatGPT and you'll get a response. I actually encourage that. I have actually been able to analyze some of the analysts that I work with, and the ones who use AI tools are smarter. Because if you're actually able to have 80% of the work done for you, and you know exactly how to customize the remaining 20 to the relevancy of the problem at hand, then these are actually tools helping you. And there's even a course online that I'm actually doing about how to be productive using Gen AI tools. Your second part is very interesting because security becomes a problem. The way Gen AI tools work is that the more data they ingest, the smarter they become. If you start having these tools used within your organizations, it means that all your IP is put on the public portals and goes out, and you're actually able to lose, because if someone else is able to know how to ask the right questions about your company, they'll be able to actually get some of those hints from questions your people wrote. Now, what do you do? So as a bank, number one, we have actually limited the use of open tools that are not approved by the security office inside the ABSA network. That's the first thing you do. So you block, you restrict. Second thing you do is you find alternatives on where you can still get the value of Gen AI using different frameworks. The first one is that we as a data team in Kenya, we have developed our own Gen AI tool that is able to do everything that you want to do with ChatGPT. So that is, the skills are actually there currently. You can actually be able to get these open source tools, tweak them to what they want to do. In Absa Bank, if you want to interact with the policy, you don't have to go and read a PDF. You can chat with a Gen AI and it will read it for you and summarize it for you. That's how cool that these technologies are actually becoming. Then if you still do not have the right skills, then I suggest going with purchasing from a proprietor. So I know there's Copilot, which is coming about, and they are clear about security. There are other tools, but there are other big players, which are also at the same level. There's Bedrock by AWS. So I'm not trying to sell anyone's tools, but I'll say that if you're not sure about or have the right skills to customize these Gen AI tools, what you can do is actually get a professional to sell to you a commercial license, and they'll do the heavy lifting for you, including ensuring that your data does not go to the public web. Thanks.
Basically, you're saying that AI and ML is the future of privacy, data privacy, and security. That's a conversation we'd love to have in the near future. Paul, parting shot.
Well, I think the future, as you have said, it's AI and ML, but there's a twist to it as well. We are seeing now people following the principles of data protection. If you just compare Facebook between 2010 to 2013, people used to share a lot, their location, what they're doing, what they're eating. There used to be so many funny things. Most recently, guys are not sharing information because now people are aware. People used to post pictures of their kids, and there's a law that protects minors with regards to their imagery being used online. So you've seen a significant reduction in data, which in turn helps with what Dr. Bright presented in the morning. The amount of data he could get from a search will now significantly reduce. So slowly by slowly, as people now take up the 6 or 7 principles of data protection, it will continue to improve the security posture, because without data, these people are powerless.
Thank you. Celia, parting shot in 30 seconds.
Sure, I think the guys covered it, right? So I know the EU is working on AI policies and how to safeguard. And it's always nice before it's implemented for us to learn from the draft. And one thing that always keeps to my mind, I always think about it, is ethical security and privacy. How we must also use tools, but we must enable people to be ethical. So as we're talking about, obviously, all these AI that we've enabled in our organization and how we collect data, we must drive responsible usage of our AI or collecting that data. Are we using it responsibly so that it doesn't harm our customers in future?
Thank you very much. Would have loved to continue this conversation, especially the turn it was taking on AI. But due to time, that's all that we can do for today. Thank you very much. Please appreciate my panelists. Thank you very much.